Hi everyone, Salesforce Development Day 40. Let's see today's session. So today we will talk about we'll go through the quickly previous session overview, and we'll talk about the JavaScript, little more about it, and then we'll talk about the flow interview. So how to call the flows from the Visualforce, and then we'll start today Apex, the first class of the Apex today. Then we'll talk about the futures of Apex. How does Apex work? Advantages of Apex. What are the disadvantages of Apex? And then we will see the Apex language constructs. Then we'll have a quick homework. Now quickly. So what did we learn in last session?
Visualforce button, Visualforce link action,
JavaScript,
layout, object manager, and JavaScript.
Right.
get element by ID.
Right. So we have discussed about the Visualforce button, links, and finally we have discussed about the object manager and then JavaScript. In the JavaScript, we have discussed about description about what is the JavaScript, how to use the JavaScript, basic commands. Basic commands we have seen in the last session. So whenever we wanted to reference the value of the field, then we have to use the document.get element ID, get element by ID. Then we have to call the path dot value. So this is what we have seen. Right, so the last class which we have implemented. So file open resource, let's open the VF underscore JS1 and JS2 which we have implemented. So here input text is the ID is NM. And on change, we are calling the method. This method, we are calling it JavaScript method. JavaScript method. And in this JavaScript method, either you can call that directly NM, but you need to specify the curly braces exclamation $component dot NM, or else you need to specify PG:FM:NM. Right? So if I click on the preview, and whatever the number we have entered, whether it is a alphanumeric or whether it whatever the number it is, as soon as we tapped it, then it is going to display the alert. We are going to display the alert, the PAN number, whatever the number we have entered. So this is what we have seen. Let's assume that I have the first number, second number, and the third number. And there is a button here. There is a button. So whenever we click on this button, this is the first number. And the second number. And this is the third number. So whatever the user is entering, on click on the submit, it has to find out which one is the highest number among these three. Which one is the highest number among these three? If I wanted to find out, we can implement that logic within the JavaScript. Let's see how to implement that using the JavaScript. So basically, I need three three text fields or a output input text, right? So here I need a input text, first number, second number, and the third number. And on click on the submit button, I'm going to call the JavaScript. I'm going to call the JavaScript. In the JavaScript, I'll get this first number, I'll get the second number, I'll get the third number. Then I'm going to compare it. I'm going to compare. So in the comparison, if first number is greater than second number, or first number and first number is greater than the third number. If this is the case, then it should display the output. Otherwise, if it is not this case, another condition again, if the second number is greater than the first number or the second number is greater than the third number. If this is the case, then I'm going to display the output. If it is not, then finally I'm going to display I'm going to check if the third number is or else directly I can display. Directly else condition, I have a else condition here. In the else condition, I can just directly display the third number is the highest. Third number is the highest. Now let's go ahead and implement. Now here, so let's see file, new Visualforce page, VF underscore JavaScript 3. So first I'll implement the Visualforce page, then we'll play with the JavaScript. Inside the Apex, I'll have a Apex colon form because we are going to ask the users to enter the data. Inside the Apex form, page block, Apex colon, page block. And then we'll have a page block section, Apex colon, page block section. Apex colon, page block section. Now inside this page block section, I'm going to have an input text and output label. So Apex colon output label. Inside the output label, I'll specify here value equal to enter first number, enter first number. Now inside this output label, I'm going to specify Apex colon input text. Now this is just now like this. I'm going to introduce. This is, let me put this into the one item, page block section item, Apex colon, page block section item, page block section item. I'm going to place this into the page block section. Right, Apex page, form, page block section item. Within that, I have an output link. Within that, I have an input text. Now I'm going to repeat this page block section item. This is for the second number. This is for second number. And the next one we have a third number. Third number. Now we are going to have a command button. Now after this section item, then I'm going to specify here Apex colon command button. Inside the command button, I have a value equal to, let's say, submit. And then on click on this button, we are going to call it JavaScript method. So let's say that greater number. Now click on save. Now click on preview. Now this is how the data is displaying it. Let's say I'm going to display in the page block section, columns equal to 1. Click on save. It will display in the first column. with the details. Just a second. And the first number, second number, third number. Now I'm going to on click of this number, I'm going to call the JavaScript. Now this is a JavaScript function name. This is a JavaScript function name. Now at the end, I'm going to write a JavaScript. JavaScript always written in the script. Open script and the close script, all the small letters, all small letters. Now within this, I'm going to specify within this, I'm going to specify function. Function method name is greater number. Now I'm going to open the curly braces. Within this, what I need to get the value of the first number. I need to get the value of the first number. How can I get the value of the first number? I need to specify here what are the input text the user is entering. I need to specify ID equal to double quotes IN1. Double quotes IN1. So using the ID colon double quotes N1 IN1. So I'm going to call here, let's say document dot get element by ID in the double quote, in the single quotes. I'm going to specify curly braces, exclamation, dollar, component dot will say whatever the ID name is there. This is the IN1. Similarly, I'm going to specify for IN2, IN3. Right, but let's see whether I'm getting the value of this value. Now here I'm going to specify where I'm going to store it into the N1 equal. This is the first number. Now let's say here, if N1, now whatever the N1 is there, then I'm going to print that an N number alert N1. So here the data is user entered the value. User entered value. Now click on the plus. Now let's say this. Get element ID spelling. The ID, click on save. Perfect. Now it's saving it. Now click on a preview. Now only one value I'm checking it, which is a 56. I'll click on submit. When I click on the submit button, I'm not getting anything. Document dot get element ID. Now let's say here, if N1 equal to null, then I'm going to specify here. If N1 equal to null, I'll add another alert message. Please enter the value. Enter value. right? So here enter the value else. I'm going to display the alert message. I'm going to display the alert message. We can say, so if I have a null value, then it is going to display the alert message. If it is, there is a value, for example, there is a value is there. If there is a value, then I'm going to display the N1. Now click on a save. So either it should come this alert or this alert. Click on this, not this one. Now let's say here 56. So why I'm not receiving it? Visualforce page. Click on inspect console. Now here is the script. Now this script is different. Now this is the script. Get element ID. It's not taking the N1. It is not taking the N1. So let's go here. IN1. I have given the IN1. It's not taking it. So what I'll do is, let me specify them from the beginning ID values. ID equal to, let's say P1, and the form ID equal to F1. Let's say page block also I'm going to specify ID equal to, let's say this is the page block 1. And then page block section, I'm going to specify the page block section ID equal to page block section page block section 1, then I have a ID 1. Let's click on save. Let's see whether it is taking the value or not. So let me do one thing. Instead of this ID, get element by ID. So let's say here, we were using it yesterday, right? Document dot. Let me copy that. Document dot get element by ID. So instead of NM, then I'm going to specify IN1. Click on save. Still it is not taking.
In each statement also we have to change.
Okay, fine. So let me do one thing. So I'll say here. The other way I'll go for it. Right, so other way I'll go for it. Let's specify output label also ID equal to. Let's say this is L1. No. Here P1 colon F1 colon PB1, page block 1, colon page block section 1, colon. Then also I have a page block section item ID equal to page block section item PBSI1 colon. Then I'm going to take output label. Right. Now, instead of taking the output label within this, let me do one thing. Let me close it here, output label, and then I'll take the IN1 directly. Can't say. So here, right now I'm getting the value. Element ID, I'm getting the value. Let's say here I'm going to click on 45, click on submit. Now I'm getting the value. So before it was not taking the value. Now it is taking the value. Similarly, I'm going to remove the output label here. Now let's close the output label here and within the input text. Now we are getting the value of whatever the value is there, we are getting the value. Now I'll remove this else condition. I'm going to capture the values. Now I'll capture the values of IN1, which I have already did it. Then I'm going to do it for the IN2. So input text ID equal to, this is the IN2. And this is the input text ID equal to IN3. Right, this is the second number and this is the first number. Similarly, I'm going to have a ID equal to, for all the page block section items, let's say here PBSI2, and here it is, it's a PBSI3. Now I'm going to capture the values of all of them. I'm going to capture the values of all of them. Now this is the second one and this is the third one. For the second one, it's a page block section 1 within the section item 2, and then I have a IN2, and then IN3, this is inside the page block section item 3. This is N2 and this is N3. Now I have a 3 values. If any of the value is incorrect, then I'm going to specify here. If any of the value is incorrect, then either N1 is not there, or if it is a N2 is not available, N2 is not available, or N3 is not available. Then I'm going to specify that please enter the double quotes. We have to check the double quotes in the JavaScript. Whenever you are checking any condition, you are cross-verifying the value. If you are cross-verifying, what is the N1? So if N1 equal to null, that means in case if you are doing that in the if condition, it has to be double quotes. It has to be double quotes. Right, so it has to be double quotes. You need to specify if N1 equal to null, or N2 equal to null, or N3 equal to null, then please enter the value. Now, by default, what JavaScript does is it will take the whatever the text that we have entered, whatever the data that we have entered here, whatever the data that we have entered, the data, whatever the data is there, 45 or whatever the data that I'm entering here, the number. Now, whatever the data that we are entering here, it will convert into the string value. It will convert into the string value. It will convert into the string value. So now, because that is the JavaScript functionality, JavaScript, I did not specify this here. It is a text, input text, right? Input text. So I did not specify anywhere. So number. So by default, JavaScript assumes that whatever I am entering here, it is a string format. It is a string format. Now I need to convert from string to, I need to convert the from string to integer. I need to convert the string to integer. I need to convert string to integer. Right, in order to convert the string to integer, what I'll do is var. Let's say, let me change this. Let's say this is the, I'm going to specify this is the input 1 and this is the input 2 and this is input 3. Now here I'm going to specify if n1 equal to, now whatever this input 1 is there, input 1 I'm going to convert this into the integer. So I'll say here parse int. In order to convert that, we use a parse int. In order to convert that, we use a parse int. So whatever the text is there, this text we are going to convert into the integer. We are going to convert into the integer. Anytime variable JavaScript does not have it, usually in other languages, if you are declaring the integer, it will be like int v equal to, let's say 23. So this is the integer data type. This is integer data type. That means it will accept only the integer number, integer data type. If you specify string, let's say b equal to, I need to specify here some string. Now this means it is a string data type. String data type. But in JavaScript, we do not have a int, string, or a boolean. For example, if it is a boolean, then let's say boolean g equal to true. So that means it is a boolean data type. It is a boolean data type. But in the JavaScript, we do not have a something called as an integer or a string or boolean. These kind of things are not there. So why we need this? Because we wanted to know what kind of a data is stored in the V. What type of data is stored in the V decided by this, right? So we always should store the integer. Now we always should store the string because we have declared it as a string V. But whereas in the JavaScript, any data type, whatever the data type it is, either you use the var v equal to anything you can specify, either you can specify the string or you can specify the number, anything. So, but by default, what it will do is it will take all the numbers as a string. Either you declare it var or you will declare it const v equal to, you can specify here anything. So it does not have a specific data type. Specific data type is not there. Either you will specify the var or constant. Var means variable. Const is nothing but also you are declaring the variable. So this does not specify which type of a data. Basically, we can handle the Boolean value, we can handle the integer, we can handle the string value, we can handle the decimal, right? Anything it can handle, but it will be taken as a string. It will be taken as a string. Now, whatever this string is there, in order to convert this string, to the integer, we have to use the parse int. We have to use the parse int. Then inside this, you need to specify the v. Inside this, you need to specify the v. So that means you are converting the whatever the variable is there. Here the variable v, you are converting into the integer. If you say parse string, then that means you are converting that into the string. You are converting that into the string. Now, if you say parse boolean, so whatever is there. So if you say here this is the int is nothing but you are converting the string to the any other decimal, any other data type to the integer. Parse int is you are parsing the data, whatever the data type it might be, you are converting into the integer. You are converting into the integer. So in order to convert that, we use a parse int. Now similarly, I'll be doing it for others. Now here var n2 equal to input 2, and then var n3 equal to input 3. Input 3. Now I have a values. Now I have values in the integer. Now what I can do is, if it is a null, then show me the please enter the value message. Or else, let's say here, else. Now what I need is, if it is a else condition, then I need to check the first one is first number is greater than second number and the third number. If it is greater than that, then I'm going to display the first number. Similarly, I'm going to check the second thing is that I'm going to check is the second number is greater than the first and third number, then I'm going to display it. Else, by default, if both the conditions are not right, then default I'm going to specify third number is the highest. Third number is highest. Third number is greater number. Right, so this is what I'm going to display. Now here I'm going to specify in order to check that if now I have a values of n1. N1 is the first number if it is greater than n2. If it is greater than n2 and n1 is greater than n3. If n1 is greater than n3, then we are going to specify that. We are going to specify alert the greater number is n1. Greater number is n1. Similarly, I'm going to check the second number. For the second number, I need to check if n2 is greater than n1 and n2 is greater than n3. Now, at this time, n2 is greater or else. Now here else. Or else, I'm going to specify alert the greater number is less. By default it is n3. Now let's click on save. Right, only the thing is that which we have a difficulty here is how to get the value of this. If you are able to get the value, this logic is normal logic. This is what is the logic. I have three numbers. N1, N2, N3. Three numbers are there. Now, first thing is that this is the three numbers are there. Now, here I am going to check. First thing I am going to check if N1 is greater than N2 and N1 is greater than N3. Then if it is a yes, then I'm going to display the message. If it is a yes, then I'm going to display a message. This is else condition. Then display greater number is N1. We are going to display the greater number as N1. Similarly, if I see The next one, I'm going to check it. N2. Next one, I'm going to check the N2. Now here, I'm going to specify. Here I'm going to specify N2 is greater than N1 and N2 is greater than N3. Right, if it is a N1 is greater than N1 is greater than the N2 is greater than N1 and N2 is greater than N3, then I'm going to display here N2. Greater number is N2. Right, it is going to display the N2. Similarly, the next one is I'm going to check the condition, that is the else condition. If nothing is possible, then by default what I'm displaying here is that I'm displaying the greater number. I'm displaying the greater number. Finally, if nothing is works, this all the conditions are not true, then I'm going to specify the last thing is display the greater number is N3. So that's the logic. So initially I'm passing all the values here. If it is a first condition, it will check, it will display the value. If it is a no, if I have a no, then it will go here. If it is a yes, it will display the greater number. If it is a no, then what we are doing is we are displaying the finally greater number is N3. So this is what the logic which we have implemented. This is the logic which we have implemented in the JavaScript. In the JavaScript, which we have implemented the logic. Right, so that is the logic which we have implemented here. Let's see. Control S. Refresh. Now I'm getting all the value IDs able to collected. Now here it is going to check the first number. Let me enter the 34, 23, 12. Click on submit. The greater number is 34. If I say here 237, the greater number is 237. So like that we are able to identify. So this is how we implement a JavaScript in the real time. Right, so only we will check in case if I wanted to do any kind of a validation. Any kind of a validation, if I wanted to cross verify, then in that case we will see the information. Now, same thing, take an assignment, implement a Visualforce page, implement a Visualforce page that displays the following fields. First number, second number, first number, second number, right? So these fields has to be displayed. Implement a Visualforce page to display the following fields and on click of add button, it should sum the first number and the second number. Also, if we click on subtract button, if you click on subtract button, it should subtract the first number and the second number. Right, similarly, another button we have it, which is a multiplication. So it has to do the output should be multiplication of the first number and the second number. And the second one is implement a Visualforce page to display lowest number in other. And the fields are first number, second number, and the third number. Right? Now, in case if you wanted to display the value there, then you can specify here. For example, let's say, let me implement another value. File, new Visualforce page. Now VF underscore JavaScript 4. Now here I'll specify the ID equal to P1 and apex colon form ID equal to F1 and then I'm going to use the one input text here, apex colon input text for this. Let's give the ID equal to IN1 and equal to IN1 on change equal to, let's say that validate input text. So this is simple Visualforce page, right? If I click on a preview button, it will just display the one text. Now here it should accept only the alphabet. It should accept only the capital alphabet. Let's assume that it should accept only the capital alphabet. And if I want the capital one, we know the regex, right? In the regex we have a, if you say capital A to F, that means I wanted to accept only between the A to F. And if you say small x to z, that means I wanted to accept only between the x to z. If you say I wanted to accept only 1 to 5, then you will specify the 1 to 5. Right, this is how we mention the regex. Now regex validation I'm going to do on the JavaScript. Now let's copy this. Now let's implement the script. This is the open and the close script. Now function, I'm going to call that function, and in this function the first thing which we are going to check is get the value where a equal to document dot get element by ID. Now P1 colon F1 colon IN1 dot value. I'm getting the value here. Now I'll check here if A is equal to null. If it is A equal to null, let's say here, if A is not equal to null. Let's say just cross verify this whether I'm getting the data or not. Alert. Please enter the data. Now click on save. Click on preview. I'm able to display the information. Now it is capturing the information. Now let's take out. Now how can I verify the regex here? So we have a regex which we have seen in the admin class. So what I'm going to do is I need to cross verify the data of, let's say only the user has to enter A to F. The user has to enter A to F. So it has to be between the square brackets. It has to be between the square brackets. Now, in JavaScript, in order to verify this, before this, what we will do is we will put the brackets, and before that we will add here. In order to put a double quotes, usually we write a double quotes like this, right? In order to write a double quotes in JavaScript, what we will do is slash, and then at the end also we will do the slash. We will do the slash. Now let's see whether it is going to work or not. Now I'll specify here if whatever the A is entered, if the A is entered, if the A is entered as per the regex test A, I'm going to test the A. If it is not equal to true, user has not entered the similar to the regex value. Similar to the regex value, user has not entered. Now what I'm going to do is I'll put alert. Let's say please enter correct data. Please enter correct data. Now let's see. Click on save. Now let's say now it's refreshed. Now I'm entering something. This part. Please enter the correct data. If I say here, okay, if I say here between A to F, between A to F, then it is taking ADCF. Now I'll specify here. Let's assume that I wanted to accept the A to F, and also I wanted to accept the dollar percentage. Let's say I wanted to accept the X and Z, right? Also 1 to 5, I wanted to accept. 1 to 5, I wanted to accept, then we'll give a plus. This is a standard regex which we have seen in the admin classes. Now let's specify here. For example, I'm entering the capital A and 1, what are the till 5, right? 1 to 5, we are accepting it, and small letters X, Y, Z. This is the acceptable, right? Which is acceptable. But if I say here, if I say 6, it is saying that please enter the correct data because I'm accepting only 1 to 5. Now, instead of that, if I say here W, it will say please enter it because I'm accepting only X to Z, X to Z. Now click on OK. Now, for example, if I say I'm accepting here A to F. Now, after F, if I say G, now again it is saying it. Again, it will say the please enter correct data. Now, for example, whenever the incorrect data is there, I wanted to update the value here. I wanted to update the value. That means I wanted to make this value is a blank. Whenever there is an incorrect value, I wanted to make the value has to be blanked out, right? So in that case, what I can do, document dot get element value, whatever this value is there equal to, I'll say null. Click on save. Now I'll say here A, B, C, X, Y, Z, which is accepted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is accepted. Right now, it is not showing any error. For example, if I say here 6, now it is going to show that incorrect, correct. You please enter the correct data. Click on OK. Immediately the value is get updated. Now, in case if I wanted to update the value, different value I wanted to update. Let's say A, B, C, D. I wanted to update between the A to F. I wanted to update. Now I'm entering a sum out of these numbers. It says please enter the correct data. Now immediately the value is getting displayed. So in case if you wanted to display the output value, you have to say document dot get element and value equal to whatever the value you are getting it. If you wanted to here, if you wanted to display the value of this N1 in the output, now you can add a output text here. And in the output text, you can say here document dot get element by ID value equal to N1. So in that input text, N1 value is going to display. Clear? So take a notes of it. Assignment.
Ma'am, as you told, we have parseInt method to convert the string to integer. Do we have any other methods that can convert some to Boolean value or double? How we can do that?
Sorry, clear the value.
No, so currently we are converting the string value to integer by using parseInt. But if we want to convert the string value to double or the Boolean value,
So
so
we
how
have a
we can do it?
different parse double, parsing. Now you can search in the Google. Now if you say here, convert string to
Very hard.
here it is. So we have a different, like if you wanted to convert anything, so parse will be same, only the next whatever the data is there, that data type gets changed. If you want to convert into the decimal, you can use the float. If you want to convert into the integer, you can use int. If you want to convert into the string, you can use the string. Parse will be same, parse double, parse int, parse string, parse float, right? Parse boolean. So that will be the whatever it is there, it's the same.
Okay.
So W3 school, if you go to the W3 school, type conversion. So in the type conversion, you have a number. Now number, you can say if you wanted to convert to the number, you can use the number. Or if you wanted to convert to the float, you can use the parse float, parse int, right? So these are the normal. You can use it. So you can check here that it is available. Right? So different ways we can do it. So this is a conversion table. Convert to number, original value is a false. If you are converting to the number, it will take it as a 0. If it is a string, it will take it as a false. If it is a boolean, it will take it as a false. Now similarly, original value is 0. Or if you have a, let's assume that you have a some array is there. Now if it is a array, then if you wanted to convert into the integer, it will not take anything. Number it will not take. If it is a string, it will take only the string value. Right? If it is a boolean, it will just take it as a boolean true. Fine. So take a homework, then we will move on.
కొంచెం లైట్ కట్టారా అయిపోయిగా
Done. Okay. So this is the JavaScript. It says it is too long, I cannot paste it. Maybe you need it only maybe you need only this part of it. So this is the code. Fine, let's move on. Now, any questions other than this? Is everybody taking the notes of it, this assignment? No, let's move on. Now, we have implemented a couple of flows which we have implemented, right? We have implemented different flows. Click on setup. Click on setup. And if you go to the flows, now inside this flows, we have a something called, let's say create account from custom UI. Right, so let me open this. This is the version 1. Now here I have a screen which is a account name. Account name is available. Now if I enter the account name, we are creating the just the account. Right, just taking the name of it and creating the account. And if in case if there is any error, it is going to call the error screen and it is going to display. Now, for example, this screen flow, I wanted to call it from the Apex page. Screen flow, I wanted to call it from the Apex page. Whenever we wanted to call this from the Apex page, right, which is a Visualforce page. So usually flows are, it's a lightning. Usually flows are lightning. Now here, when I click on run button, it is displaying in the lightning layout. It is displaying in the lightning layout. But Visualforce pages, it is similar to the classic. Whatever we are entering here, it's a classic view. Visualforce pages are basically, it is for the classic view. Now, if we try to call the flows in the Visualforce pages, few Visualforce pages, it will work. Few does not work it because there are some flow elements are there. Flow elements does not support the classic. Flow elements does not support the classic. Now let me show you that how to use the flow in the Visualforce page. VF underscore flow. No, here I'm going to specify there is a one Visualforce tag which we have is flow interview. Flow interview. In this flow interview, there are multiple attributes are there. Multiple attributes are there, like a allow show pause. In case if you want to allow the pause button from the Visualforce page, button location, if you want a button location, button style, finish location, in case if you wanted to add any finish location, or ID, if you, this is a generic identification, interview, in case if you wanted to add any interview, flow interview, and the name of the flow, API name of the flow. So here, name of the flow is nothing but, let's go ahead and check. Now, in order to know the API flow name, click on this, view details and versions. Now we have a API name here. Copy this API name. Let's go to the developer console. Now you are going to specify the API name. And this is normal screen flow. Now if I click on this, if I save this and click on preview button, what it is happening, it is displaying in the classic view. It is displaying in the classic view. Now, next button is by default, it is displaying here. This is a classic structure. Now, in case if you wanted to convert this lightning, if you wanted to convert this styling, the CSS of the page to the lightning, then what you can do is you can add one more attribute in the Apex page, which is called as a lightning style sheet equal to true. Lightning style sheet equal to true. So this is just a style sheet which is getting updated. That means CSS styling of the page that gets updated. Before, how it was displaying before, it is like a classic view. Now it is displaying as a lightning view. Now it is displaying as a lightning view. So in case if you want the Visualforce CSS to be changed, or if you want by default style sheet needs to be lightning style sheet needs to be applied to the Visualforce page, then what you can do, you can say here lightning style sheet equal to true. Lightning style sheet equal to true. Now I'm going to specify here account. Let's say that this is the Visualforce flow. Click on the next button. When I click on the next button, it will be created and it is redirected to the page. Now let me go to the home account. Now the Visualforce underscore flow is created. Visualforce underscore flow is created. Detail section. When it is created just now. Right, 9:11 a.m., which is the Indian time. Right, so right now it is created and again it is redirected and displaying the information. Okay, so that's how you can call the screen flow from the Apex page. But there are some issues whenever you use the flow inside the Visualforce page. Few of them you will see an error. Let's take an example. Let's say that I have a version 2. In the version 2, let me show you the version 2. In the version 2, I have added one more field which is called as an email. One more field which is called as an email. So this is whenever we add a flow here, there is a component. This is a flow component, right? This is a flow component. So it is like a flow value colon email, something like that. So it will be, this is a flow component. Few flow components does not work in the classic. Now let me show you that. Now let me activate this version 2. Click on save version 3 and then it is giving a warning. This issue does not prevent activation, but can cause a problem when you run the flow account screen. So this is the account screen. This screen includes the screen component that requires the lightning runtime. That means we have added the email. There is a email lightning component, the flow component which we have added. Lightning flow component which is called as a email. For that, it requires during the runtime, it requires some component which is a lightning component. It's required. Now let me activate this. Now, if I say here debug, it works perfectly fine without any issue. Now, let me show you this. Click on run. Now, let's say here, this is the account flow from debug, and this is the email ID, samskar@gmail.com. Click on next. Now, perfect, it is created the account transaction committed. Now, if I go and check the account, there is a record is created, account flow from the debug, which is totally working fine. Now, I am not changing anything here. So what I'll do is I'll click on again preview. When I click on a preview, what it is saying that we cannot display the component which is called as a flow runtime : email, because lightning flow already suggested us. You have some flow component is there. If you are running this inside the lightning is going to execute some flows. Backend it is going to execute the flow. But right now I'm running in the classic Visualforce page. This is a classic Visualforce page. Whenever we are running in the Visualforce page, there are few problems you will see. We cannot display the component flow runtime email because it is not supported in the classic runtime. Now, in this case, what it will ask, check with your lightning runtime instead. That means it is asking me that you cannot do this because email component, flow runtime email, not only the runtime email, there are many are there. Like a like we have now, like we have a phone number, or let's say that lookup. So there are few components are there which will work totally perfectly fine in the lightning, but it does not work in classic. Now, in order to make this classic to work, now if you search in the Google, now they will say that enable some option in the Salesforce. Enable the option in the Salesforce. But if you enable also, few components will work, few components does not work. Few components will work, few components does not work. Email does not work. There is a probability that phone might be working at. So what is that option they were checking to enable? Now let's go back. Now here we have a automation setting. Search with the automation setting. Process automation setting. Click on this process automation setting. Inside the process automation setting, you have one option, enable runtime for flows. Enable runtime for flows. Now what it is saying here, flow launched from the URL or from the setup using the lightning runtime experience instead of a classic runtime experience. Only lightning runtime supports two column flow screens, column screen component and local component. Now let's click on a save. Now I can click on this process automation. In the process automation, I have clicked on the enable lightning runtime for flows. Lightning runtime for flows. Now let's click on this refresh. Now still it is displaying the error because that setup is whatever we have done the setup, that setup will be enabled only few flow runtimes, not all the flow runtimes. Not all the flow runtimes, like a lookup or a phone. Sometimes we receive here flow runtime colon lookup, flow runtime colon phone. So those are the errors we receive it. For few of them, it works perfectly fine, but you cannot say that the 100% lightning flows will work in the Apex pages. You cannot say 100% the lightning flows work in the Visualforce page. In this scenario, what is the alternate solution is that you need to call the flow from the lightning aura. You need to call the flow from the aura, and then you need to call the aura from Visualforce page. From the Visualforce page. So VF will be calling the aura and aura will be calling the flows. So this way from the Visualforce page, you can display the lightning flows. But directly, you can do the execution of the flow. But all the flow runtimes does not support to the Visualforce page. Basically, it does not support the classic. It does not support the classic. So that's the issue with Visualforce, calling the lightning flows in the Visualforce. We will see when we are doing the lightning aura, we will see how to do this. Now, this is a screen flow that we are calling it. This is a screen flow that we have called. Let's assume that I have an automation flow. I have an automation flow. That automation flow is expecting a input parameter. Expecting a input parameter. Let's assume that I have a flow move case to the escalated. In this automation flow, when I click on a debug, it is asking the input parameter. If I provide the input parameter, then only it will work. For example, let's say here, let me open the cases. Now, cases object. Inside the cases object, let's click on all cases, all open cases. Now, these are there. Now, for example, I wanted to give this, which is a new which is a new. Now, if I give this ID, where is it? This is not the one. Now, here is the move case to the. No, this is the case ID. Click on this run. Now it will update the record to the status escalated. Now previously it is a new. Now if I refresh it, it gets updated to the escalated. Now in this case, whenever the lightning flow is asking for a parameter, in that scenario, how can we call it from the Visualforce page? How can we call from the Visualforce page? Let's say that I'm going to here I'm going to add another flow colon interview. Now here I'm going to specify the name of the flow. Name of the flow is, I need to get the API name. Let's go back. And here I have it. Move case to escalated. Let's click on view details and versions. Now, this is the API name. Copy this API name. Let's go to the Visualforce page, add the API name. Now here, inside this, what it is doing, it is asking the input parameter. How can we pass the input parameter? In order to pass the input parameter, now within the flow, I need to use the Visualforce tag called apex::param. Apex::param. Inside this, I'll specify name. Name equal to, what is the name of it? Now, if you see here, it is a case ID. Variable is case ID. Now, I'll copy that case ID. I'll paste it here. Case ID. And we need to pass the value. Value equal to, I'll directly take it from the URL, or else you can directly give here the ID. Whatever the ID is there, you can give that ID here. Instead of giving the ID, let me pass the ID in the URL. From the URL, I will take it as a ID. I will take it as this ID. Now, here we have added the case ID. Okay, I need to give the standard controller. Standard controller equal to case. Let's click on save. Now, for time being, let me comment out the first one. Now, can I can I give any name here? Let's say instead of a case ID, I'll say case record ID. Case record ID. Can I give this? Will it accept? Can I give any name? It will not accept. It will say that this particular variable is not available in the flow. Only it will accept the variable that are present in the flow. Only those variables it will be accepted here. Only those variables it will be accepted. What are the variables that we have here? Only those variables will be accepted in the param. You cannot give any name. You cannot give any name. Now click on here, preview. When you click on a preview, it says your flow is finished, but actually it did not update anything. If I refresh, it did not update anything because I need to pass the ID. It did not update anything. Now what I'll do is I'll go to the Visualforce page. I'll pass the ID equal to. Now this is the ID. Now it will execute. Then it says your flow is finished. Your flow is finished. Let's click on this, refresh. Now you see that the record status is updated to the escalated. Right? So automation does not have any screens. It is just at the running at the back end. So this is how you can pass the data from the Visualforce page to the Lightning flow. Here, this is about the Visualforce page. Calling the Lightning flows inside the Visualforce page, which is called as a flow interview. Any questions? Okay. Is that clear, flow interview?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Offline. Offline. Is anybody there from offline? We usually in the real time, it's a very rare scenarios. If client is using the classic, in that case, if you wanted to call the lightning flows in the classic, if the clients are more in terms of classic, they are not using the lightning. In that case, you are implemented the lightning flows and you wanted to call the lightning flows into the Visualforce page. Then in that case, better if everything is working fine by using the Visualforce page, calling the flows here, that should be totally fine. But in case if there is any error in between, then you need to include the lightning aura or LWC. In between, you need to include the lightning aura or LWC, then call that lightning aura or LWC from the Visualforce page. Okay. Okay then, so let's move on. Now, apart from the Visualforce pages, we have one more thing which is called as a Visualforce component. We have Visualforce component. Now, we'll talk about the Visualforce component whenever we are discussing about the lightning component. Whenever we are discussing about the lightning component, that time we will talk. But usually whatever the tags you have it, right? All the tags you can use it in the Visualforce component. Only the difference is it will have a apex colon component. Only it will have apex colon component. Now let me show you one example. So whenever I create a Visualforce component, it always starts with apex colon component. Apex colon component. Let's say file new Visualforce component. Let's say this is the VF underscore component. 1. Now it starts with apex colon component. Apex colon component. Now let me show you this. It always ends with the extension is .vfc. The extension is .vfc. For Visualforce pages, it is a .vfp. For Visualforce pages, it is a .vfp, and for Visualforce component, it is a .vfc. .vfc. And the Visualforce pages is always starts with apex colon page. It always starts with apex colon page. And whereas component is always start with Visualforce component always starts with apex colon component. But that does not mean that you cannot use any of the Visualforce pages here. You can use the Visualforce pages here also. Here also you can use it. But we will see that there is a different way of declaration is there in the Visualforce component. We will see that later because few things which we need to understand: declaration of the variable, declaration of the attribute, right? So we have to see those information. But normally you can use the page block section. You can use it here, apex colon page block. Right, title equal to, let's say this is the student information. Student information. Now click on save. In between, you can add any text. Let's say here I'm going to add normal text. Let's say student number. Student name. Now let's click on the preview. Now here preview button is not available. Here preview button is not available. You cannot view as a preview. You cannot view as a preview. Now, how can I view this Apex Visualforce component? In case if you wanted to view the Visualforce component, you have to call it from the Visualforce page. You have to call it from the Visualforce page. For Visualforce page, there is a preview button is there. For Visualforce component, there is no preview button. There is no preview button. Components does not have a preview button. Now what I can say is I can show this component from the Visualforce page. Now how can I show this component? Now in order to show that component, now what you can do is C colon, you need to call that VF underscore component. VF underscore component 1. Close this. Click on review. Now here is the student information, student number, student name. Right, I'm calling it from the Visualforce page. This is the component. This is the component. This is the component. And this component I have implemented normally Apex colon component, page block, and this is the student number, student name is there. And this component I am calling from the Visualforce page in order to preview the component. Now, because I do not have a preview button in the VF component, Visualforce component, I do not have a preview button. In order to click on this preview, I need to call it from the Visualforce page. How do we call it? Component C is nothing but a component. C is nothing but a component. Component colon whatever the Visualforce page name is there. VF name. VF component name. VF component name we are calling it. So that's how the Visualforce page components, Visualforce component, we will be implementing it. In case if you wanted to preview the Visualforce component, you have to call it from the Visualforce page. You have to call it from the Visualforce page. Component colon, that means C colon, whatever the Visualforce component is there. Whatever the Visualforce component is there, that Visualforce component, we need to add it. We need to add it. Right, so here is the
PF component are also for Salesforce Classic only.
sorry.
By default, as like Visualforce pages are for Salesforce Classic.
Right.
So Visualforce component are also for Salesforce Classic.
Because here we have mentioned the lightning style sheet equal to true. Now I can see here it is displaying in the lightning column. If I remove this lightning style sheet equal to true, Control X, let's save this. Now it is displaying in the classic view. If you say classic, it will display in the classic.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so let's move on. Apex. So today we have completed the Visualforce pages, and I'll be touching the Visualforce pages during the Apex implementation because some part we need to first do the Apex, understanding the Apex, then we will come back to the Visualforce page again, how to call the Apex from the Visualforce page. So that part we will take it later, but what are the basic things of the Visualforce pages are there, it is completed. Now let's move on to the Apex. What is the Apex? So like any other programming language, like they have a C, C++, Java, JavaScript, they have the programming languages in the different languages are there. Similarly, Apex is also a programming language. Apex is also a programming language. It is strongly typed object-oriented programming language. It is strongly type object-oriented programming language and case insensitive. Whether you write a capital, small, it doesn't matter in the Apex. Whereas Java or JavaScript, right, those are case sensitive. If you write a small letter to the capital letter to the small letter, it does not work. But Apex is case insensitive. Whether you write a small letter or a capital letter, only thing is that the word has to be there. The word has to be there. For example, if you say integer, either you write a integer small I t like this, or you can write it small capital I small t, or you can write capital I, capital N, capital T, anything you can write it, or you can write a capital I, capital N, and small t, anything which is fine, but only the thing is that the word has to have some meaning to this. What are the keyword is there? That word has to be there, some meaning. Now it is a case insensitive. Case insensitive. Apex is the programming language. It is a strongly typed programming language and it is a case insensitive. Now what does it do basically? Why we need a Apex? Why we need a Apex? We need a Apex or a developer needs a Apex in order to implement some business logic. In order to implement some business logic. If I wanted to implement a business logic, which is not available in the Salesforce, and I wanted to write the business logic, or I wanted to customize the logic, in that case, in order to write the business logic, custom logic, we use the Apex. So Apex supports the classes, interface, inheritance, everything. Like if you have seen in the C language we have a classes, interface, inheritance, right? Like a grandparent to the grandchild, grandchild to the grandparent, right? Inheritance or interfaces, everything it supports. We'll see that how it is getting supported. And Apex validates the references to the objects at the compile time. That means whenever you write an object, whenever you write an Apex class, for example, you are implementing some custom logic for assume that for hiring manager. You are implementing the custom logic. When you are implementing the custom logic, ultimately that custom logic is reference to the object which is called as a hiring manager. So when you click on a save button, it compiles the logic, whether you have written the field API links are correct or the logic is correct. Is there any keywords or a syntax error, right? Any spelling mistakes, right? Anything, these kind of things, it is going to verify it. So it will validate the references to the object at compile time. It will not check how the logic should be executed. It will only check the syntax, right? Spelling mistakes, or you have written the correct object, you have referenced it or not, whether you have referenced the incorrect object. So those things it is going to cross-verify. Basic compilation will be done on whenever you save the Apex business logic. Click on, when you click on the save button. Take a notes of it. Done, taking the notes. So let's move on. Let's see what are the features of the Apex. Features of the Apex. Apex is the hosted. It is a hosted Apex. When I say hosted, what is that mean? It is a hosted Apex. Hosted Apex is nothing but whenever we write a logic, we are writing the logic in the Apex, which is a Apex language, like an integer a equal to 32. I'm writing some code which human can understand. Integer a equal to 32. So this is human can understand. So I'm writing in the Apex language. But when we write the Apex language, so what the Salesforce does is it will, whatever we have written the logic, it will entirely convert into the machine language and controlled by the host.com platform. Apex is controlled by the host.com. So first what it does is when we click on a save, it will execute it and it will convert the language. What are the human language is there? From the human language to the machine language, it will convert it and controlled entirely by the host.com platform. So it is a hosted Apex. It is hosted Apex. And another feature, the second feature of the Apex is it upgrades automatically. Apex is upgrades automatically. So as we have a 3 releases in a year, so every release there is a some changes which are going to update in the Apex. Every release there is a some changes are going to update it. So whenever there is a Apex changes or a development changes, what will happen? Apex is upgraded as part of the Salesforce release. We do not have to upgrade it manually. So we never need to be rewritten the logic. So you might see whenever you start working on the project, you might see that there are few projects which were implemented in 2010, and still they are working on. So there is nothing called as a rewritten, right? So because Salesforce is maintaining that kind of a logic. So whatever they have released it, they are maintaining that kind of a logic, and Apex is never needs to be rewritten. And the third one is rigorous. Rigorous means direct reference to the schema object. It is directly references to the schema object such as a object and fields. Whenever you are implementing the logic or whenever you are writing the classes in the Apex, it is directly reference to the schema object or a fields. Because somewhere in the logic, you will either you specify the object API name or you will specify the field API name. So every business logic is directly linked to the schema objects or fields. It is quickly at the compile time. It fails quickly compile time if the references are not valid. So as I have mentioned initially, so during the compilation, it is going to verify the object. If it is you have not specified the API name correctly of the object or a field, then it is quickly give the error during the compilation. And the next one is Apex is version control. Version control. So it is a version. That means custom Apex code can be saved against the different version of the API. Not only the Apex, Visualforce pages, Lightning Aura, whatever we are doing in the post.com platform, everything in the post.com is a version control. Every logic, every code that we are writing, it is going to, we can save it against the different versions of the API. Now here you can see the API versions. Now this API version is right now we are in 58. So one of the interview question we will get is what is the current Salesforce API version? So it is a correct right now, it is a 58. It is right now 58. Now taking notes of it. Srivali, is that the question related to the Apex?
No, ma'am. After completing this,
Okay, we will see that later.
okay.
Done. So that's all for today. We will see a few more features of Apex next week. So for today, that's all. So these are the 4 features of Apex. There are a few more features of the Apex are there. So we will see it next week, Monday.